Welcome to Simplify My Small Business. This is the big episode 50. How are you, Adam Stanecki?
I'm excited. Simon Hampson, we're 50. Woo! We're over the hill.
We didn't quite get the live studio audience that we wanted a few episodes back, but
what's up?
We're here. We're here. Already in our second year of recording, mate.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Something fell through in the booking office there. We might have to chat to the admin people.
Yes. They audience of 2 now. Anyway, it's
huge. We could make a ruckus.
Hey, Adam, I'm your biggest fan.
Simon, the feeling's mutual. I'm getting teary.
I'm sure all of you out there are a bit sick of the patting on the back, so we're going to shut up now. But
yeah, we're going to stop it. And I'm recording at home again, so you'll have to forgive the crazy children running up and down the hallway if you can hear them in the background. Maybe we could make a competition out of it. If you can hear the children, something. Anyway, let's move on.
We'll do that for the next episode, I think. Adam, you have news about what's coming up in November.
Oh, we're running the Campfire brand, the Bali trip again at the gym. So we're well underway, selling. 8 spots maximum. 2 spots are definitely gone. 2 spots look like they're gone. I just need people to put their money where their mouth is. So we're effectively halfway sold out, and I haven't even started advertising the sucker yet. So pretty good.
It's so cheap for what it is.
It's going to be massive this time because we've done it all before. So we now know how everything runs, what needs to be done. We can actually put some systems in place, which is nice, rather than just go, I think it'll work this way, let's hope for the best. And I'm going to add some bits and bobs to it. So there's going to be a lot more content for people who attend and some more adventurous stuff as well. So it's not just going to be a go and get fit. It's going to be a bit of a get out, experience the culture,
bit of a
have
retreat.
an adventure.
Yeah, awesome.
Can't wait. And flights are only, flights from Australia at the moment are $3.95 return.
That's ridiculous.
It's cheap as chips. I mean, that's from Melbourne. If you live in Perth, that'd be expensive. But from Melbourne, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is great news from Melbourne. Well, I guess the whole idea of putting systems in place and learning from the first stage segs nicely into this week's episode, episode 50. It's the third in our series looking at Tim Ferriss's DEAL methodology. And this one, all about the A, automation.
Yeah, and you know what? People normally, they hear automation, they think robots and machines and technology and all that kind of stuff, and it doesn't have to be the case. That's kind of a more extreme automation. Okay, so here's the 2 things you need for automation. Staff and systems. And the only way that you can get rid of needing staff is by putting another S in place, which would be software.
Sure.
Or you could, machines and all that crazy stuff. But we are going to assume that people are doing the work at the moment. And if you have one of those businesses out there that doesn't require people and it requires just software or some kind of technological automation, you can kind of replace staff with software or whatever it may be.
And chances are if you've got software automation, you're probably pretty automated as you are. So,
Correct. Absolutely. So this episode tacks on beautifully to the last one we talked about, which was elimination. And without it, it's like the key little bit. This is where everyone kind of stuffs up this whole methodology. They define everything fairly well, and even maybe really well, and then they start to eliminate all the stuff that's getting in the way. They get rid of all their roadblocks, and then they get to automation, and they think, hang on, no one else can do this as well as I can, and they bottleneck their whole business. And then there's no way to move on to number 4, liberation, if there's no automation. Because if you're still having to review every piece of email and you're still hands-on with all of your processes and all of your systems, and there's no way that you're liberated from your job, from your work, and you can't go and sit on a beach and do whatever you want to do on the beach.
Sip pina coladas.
Pina coladas. It wouldn't be my first choice, but I can see where you're going.
Well, that's the traditional image of being on the beach, I guess, isn't it, really?
It is. Ugh.
The little umbrella in the top.
Sorry, I might take a Mai Tai, old school Mai Tai. Anyway, let's move on.
Yes.
Yeah, so there is no liberation without automation is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. And, that need to be involved in everything, I think, is the first thing you need to look at, really, as an entrepreneur or as a business owner. It's, it's a case of if the product ships or if the service is still there, then why do you need to be involved?
That is exactly right. It's a very hard step for most entrepreneurs to come across, to get through. And the thing that you have to have is you have to have trust in your systems and you have to have trust in your people or your software. And you have to be able to remove yourself knowing that whatever system, person, or software solution you put in place might not do it as well as you can, but they only have to do it adequately.
Exactly.
They don't have to do it perfectly. You're looking for, again, we talk about the Pareto principle all the time, the 80-20. You don't want to spend all of your effort doing something that is overblown and you don't need to do that much work to get it done. Now, I'm not saying you become complacent and do just enough. You want to do more than enough, but it's about adequacy. It's about getting it done. And apologies if that terminology kind of sounds mixed up. I hope you understand what I mean, that you don't have to go over the top. You don't have to invest all of your soul into every single process in your business. And you can get away with having someone else do it as long as they're following what you've asked them to do. So there's still your input into that process.
I think the other thing you've got to look at is to look long-term. And as an entrepreneur, the chances are you're someone who likes ideas, someone who likes to create businesses or take ideas and build them up from scratch. And the chances are you're probably going to want to sell the business that you're currently involved in at a point in the future. Now, if you imagine that point in the future and you look back and you think, am I going to be still involved in all of the processes? Is it the point that I want to sell this business or the point that I get a great offer? Or am I going to have a business that works on its own that I can sell and hand on to someone else, and it's going to continue functioning how I had it over the last 5-10 years or whatever? So it's a really important thing to picture down the track and say that's the reason for automation.
Absolutely, and that's what you would take care of in the first stage, in that definition stage, where you work out what your exit strategy for the business is. Do you want to create this business so you can sell it for a truckload of cash and just live on the profits? Do you want to create a business that creates you cash flow so you don't necessarily have to work, but you still make money each week that you can spend on whatever you want to do? Do you want to create it so you've got a legacy for your kids? You need to define all those reasons at the start. And if your goal is to be able to sit on a beach 3 months in every year, then when you get to this automation stage, you can sit there, and when you hit that block of, geez, this is really hard, I've got to pull myself out from it, you can start to look at that big dangling carrot of 3 months on a beach, because there's no way you can sit on a beach for 3 months a year connected to the internet and enjoying yourself. Obviously, you can stay connected to the internet on the beach these days, but you're not going to enjoy yourself if all you're doing is your office work on the beach. It's not what we're talking about when we talk about liberation. Yeah.
So, look, let's start off with the first of the two, staff. You kind of got two options here. You can go with local staff or virtual staff. And
exactly.
That's something we've spoken about a bit.
Yeah, we beat this one to death. There is no correct answer here. It depends on the business, and it depends on what you as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, are comfortable with. And this is also applicable to people that don't own businesses, that just want to get out of their own, maybe they want to get out of their cubicle, maybe they don't want to mow lawns anymore, maybe they want, all that kind of stuff. So they can assign tasks to other people. Now, they could go and hire themselves a local personal assistant that helps them. They could go and hire themselves a virtual assistant. So it's not just about business owners, but getting staff online is another way to get more done in less time. And you can replace yourself with someone else. And this has been done by people who are getting, let's say you're an admin assistant or whatever it may be, probably something other than that, employed by someone else for huge corporate Australia, America, UK, whatever, and you want to get out of there, you could employ a virtual assistant to do non-mission critical, non-sensitive tasks, and all of a sudden you've got more time to do stuff. Now, that's not going to get you on the beach, but you might have more time to go bowling at night or whatever it may be, because someone else is helping you with your work.
Yeah, exactly. It's a huge reason to employ someone, I think.
Yeah, and most people, this is a block for a lot of people as well. And when I say lot, I do mean most. Like this idea of getting someone working for them, because they're like, but I'm going to pay money. Well, yeah, you do. You need to swap money for time. If you want to get liberated, then it's going to cost you somewhere. You don't get it for free. You don't get to just get someone to do your work and it doesn't cost you anything.
Do you know what? I think in the last 6 months at Gosh, we've learned a huge lesson in the stuff we've been through and the way we've structured the company. And we've now moved to a mix of outsourcing and also having a back office overseas and then having staff in Australia. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, and they say, oh, but I can't employ someone for X sort of role in my company until I have the systems right, until there's a proper position description. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's fair enough. But what about getting someone in and, exploring how the business is going to react to having that person in that role and defining whilst they're there? Now, that takes a certain type of employee to work for you to be able to work in that environment. I acknowledge that. But the chances are you probably want that sort of person in the job anyway when you're first starting a business or in the early stages. So, don't wait until all of your systems are in place to get the stuff in, I think is the point.
Yeah, you will have an idea. If you're running a business, you've got systems, you just might not have them written down. And getting someone else to come in and you show them how everything operates, and you can start to write down the systems and create your flowcharts and all those wonderful, pretty documents with that person if that needs to be the case.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing I found about this, when I hired my first virtual assistant, I really had to sit down and nut out what I did in those tasks that I wanted to send over to my virtual assistant. And you have to become very clear about it. And it might have been a case that I was talking to someone from a different cultural background with a different mastery of the English language and all that kind of stuff. But I broke it down into very clear chunks, and then through problems and then solutions, we worked out how we work well together. But that has set me up so well for my local staff who have been around me longer, know how I communicate and do all that kind of stuff. So when things go awry just with systems and staff locally, I find it easy to work that out now because I've had the experience of working with someone offshore. So as you were saying, doing both works really, really well.
I guess it's kind of hard for us to get too specific about stuff because it's about what will suit your situation out there. But, those are kind of two options, I guess, whether you go local or virtual, in terms of setting up the stuff for your business. I think, Adam, you're going to provide an offer for your company, VA Scout, a bit later on in this episode.
Yeah, I will. Hopefully it'll get some people moving along. It'll make it manageable and affordable, but we'll talk about that later for sure.
Systems. What do systems need to be?
Oh, clear, absolutely clear. And as you would expect if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, as simple as possible. Like, you need to distill everything you do into steps and make those steps like the minimum number of steps to get the task done with as little information involved to get the job done. You can get overblown here and you can write a system out that's like 40 A4 pages just on how you say hello to someone when they walk through the front door of the business.
But you'd hope that the people you're employing have enough nous to be able to take a fairly slimline instruction on that.
Yeah, and let's be honest, people aren't robots, so they often would like to have some input, some personalizing all of these systems. So putting the framework in place is great. I always say at the gym to people, when they welcome people into the gym that haven't been in the gym before, here are the steps we want to go through. Here's the flow. We want you to say hello, gauge what the interest level is, find out if there are any buying signals, get their details, and either sign them up, get their contact information so you can contact them later and give them some more information, or say thanks very much, it's obviously not for you, have a good day. Yeah,
exactly.
So it's pretty simple, but what kind of language you use is up to you because it depends on the person who walks through the door.
Well, the next step in systems is, are they measurable?
Absolutely. And yeah, because they're useless if they're not measurable, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, if we move on from that first welcoming stage in the gym, we can sort of look at, okay, what happens when someone makes an inquiry to become a member? How do you measure, is the success rate, how many people sign up and how many people don't? Or
yeah, so we actually do exactly that in the gym. We have a very simple way of doing it. We've got a tally sheet up on a corkboard in the office.
Yep.
And depending on how someone contacts us, whether it's via email, directly, via the website, maybe they come through Google or Google Ads, they might be a word-of-mouth referral, or they might walk through the door. So we're talking about walk through the door at the moment. So someone will just simply go into the office and tick off, add a 1 to the column that someone's walked through the door. And at the end of that week, how many people have walked? We've got a little one. How many people have signed up? And the next step is how many people who walked through the door signed up.
Yeah, so
excellent. You can drill down a long way. Again, you can go crazy with detail here if you wanted to. So I'm not necessarily suggesting that. But
you know what I always say? If you don't have the data, you can't look at it.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's kind of like it's better to have a gun and not need it than need a gun and not have it. That kind of I'm not advocating gun ownership here, but you get the idea.
That might be a bit controversial with the events in the States in the last week.
Oh, yeah. Maybe bad time. A little too early. So one of the things, like with measurable, what we do in the gym is we're actually measuring the effect of certain words and language in how we're talking to people.
Mm.
So what's working and what's not, what's a positive, what's attractive to people, what makes them want to sign up, and what pushes them away.
Mm.
And the longer that you do this kind of stuff, the more data you have and the better decisions you can make. So you can change your, let's say, customer service system for initial contact to change the way you say hello. Like maybe g'day works, maybe hello sir and madam works, depending on your environment and your business. But until you try each of them, you're not going to know which one works the best.
You're not going to know. And I think a really important thing, especially at the gym, but I think in any sales process, is understanding what someone's motivation is. And, we typically say that people have two types of motivation. They're either moving away from something or they're moving towards something. So the people who are moving towards something have a goal.
Yeah.
The people who are moving away from something generally say, I don't want to be in that place, or I don't want to be that person, or I don't want to be in debt, so I'm moving away from debt. So, those types of things, I think, especially in the gym, are going to be really important.
I'm interested to know what your experience with that is, because in the gym that's very, very clear, like moving to and moving away.
Absolutely.
Like if we were to separate those kind of clients, what's your experience with them?
Well, I think it's about how you structure the language when you speak to those types of clients. So, for a client who's moving away, they might be overweight and they're moving away. They want to move away from being overweight. But at a certain point, all of the people who are moving away, at a certain point, you have to turn them to face a goal and move towards it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, the great example is if someone's $2,000 in debt and they're a moving away type of personality, they might get to $1,000 in the bank and they'll stop because they've got out of debt. The thing that they were moving away from has stopped, and chances are they'll drift back to it.
Yes.
So, in a sort of training sense, the person who's sort of overweight or unfit might move away, get 2 months down into the gym and they're sort of feeling a bit fit. Maybe they got a bit of a bicep they didn't have before and they're losing a bit of weight and then, okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to stop now.
That's exactly what we find. The people that are moving towards the goal are the people that stick around. The people that are moving away from something might sign up but might not stick around. So it's really quite interesting. And that goes into what could be a whole new episode, which would be like the psychology of selling. It's really intriguing, but I'm happy that you brought that up because it's a really good way of thinking about it.
Yeah, totally. Well, as you know, this past weekend I got my official certification in hypnotherapy, and it was.
I'm actually hypnotized right now, everybody.
It was one of the things that we spoke about a lot is human motivation, and people. There's no such thing as someone hypnotizing someone else. It's all self-hypnosis. So you need to make sure that in the client's mind or in the patient's mind, there is the clear motivation to do what they've said they want to be hypnotized about. So,
yeah, we need to talk about that offline because that's very intriguing.
Continually refining systems, I think, is the next important step, isn't it?
Well, it comes straight after measuring. Once you measure, you can see what's going right, what's going wrong, and you can tweak. And the beautiful thing about tweaking is when you tweak it, you're going to measure it again. So if it didn't work, you just take it back to where it was. You've got a baseline to go back to, and you can measure it again and then change it in a different direction or tweak it that way or whatever the case may be until it gets to a point that's working. And the thing is, it's kind of true to say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you might be able to try new stuff that might make it 2, 3, 5, 10, 82% better. So
absolutely.
Don't get complacent just because something's working. And I'll give you a really quick example of this. We've been operating for the last 4.5 years at the gym with no paid advertising at all. Just word of mouth, just people walking through the front door, just organic online, what's the word I'm looking for?
Search results, traffic
Correct.
results.
Yeah. So nothing paid. And over the last 4 weeks, we've started Google AdWords and we've filled all our introductory classes. So heaps more people coming in and it's negligible. The cost is negligible. But for a while there, I was always of the opinion, why am I going to pay for this? I'm already getting people through the door, but it's the volume that's changed now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need to. It's like if you think of a circle, what you're paying to do is expand the circle.
absolutely.
And then your other circle, which crosses over into that, is word of mouth. And I think at Firebrand, you guys have a very specific kind of, if you look at the two circles, there's a sweet spot in the middle for people who come and look, and then people who are going to give word of mouth. And then there's another circle for your perfect client. And where they overlap is that's your gold client. That's the person who gets the golden ox skin, So
it's true for everyone else as well, by the way.
Absolutely, yeah. Every business has that.
If you can picture what Simon was just saying as he was dangling a fob watch in front of your eyes. So clear, simple, measured, and continually refined systems. I just recently received an email. I'm on Michael Port's email list. Michael Port is the guy who wrote Book Yourself Solid, which is a brilliant book.
It's a great book. Basically, it talks about, your perfect client. So firing the ones who aren't perfect and getting ones who are.
Yeah, it's a brilliant concept. And if we get our stuff together, there will be a link in the show notes this week if we get our stuff.
Yeah, go visit the website. There's going to be a few links this week. We're going to link up to Michael Port. We'll be linking up to a bit about systems and the VA Scout offer, of course, that we're going to tell you about very shortly.
And there's another great book as well that we were talking about before we started recording, which is The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Worth reading. If you have no idea about systemizing your business, it's worth it. It's pretty deep, and I would suggest it's a little bit out of date, but the concepts are worth understanding. I found it to be a little bit too strict in its desire for systemization. Like, there just didn't seem to be much room to move in it. However, as a starting point for a small business owner or an entrepreneur who wants to systemize their business, it's a great place to start.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the GTD thing. I mean, you go kind of to an extreme in order to understand where the middle lies, I think.
Yeah, I think with Gerber, what he was trying to get at was this whole idea that, places like McDonald's are so systemized that they just work. Like, you can put a McDonald's restaurant in a high traffic area and train up the owner and the staff, and it's just going to work. There is no doubt people will go there and eat bad food and pay money for it.
It's a huge reason for the high entry costs to get into McDonald's. I think you need, is it $500,000 in the bank plus $500,000 in assets, or $1 million in assets or something to get a McDonald's franchise? It's something.
Well, the thing I heard recently that in Australia is that you cannot get a franchise unless you're already a franchisee.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, actually.
Okay, so 7 major business systems according to Michael Port, and this would be pretty much according to anyone who's actually thought this out. Marketing, accounting, sales, operations, which is your admin type stuff, client services, human resources, which needs to be renamed because it's a terrible term, and production and delivery. So 7 things.
I think human resources should be, keeping people happy and keeping everyone in the right role.
Staff awesomeness or something like that.
Staff awesomeness. I like it.
Because it just makes people sound like sheep or something. I don't even know, like machines. So things to think about. Marketing. Well, what can you do with your marketing? How can you systemize your marketing efforts? And the first thing is, write down what you're doing now. Write down what works. Write down what doesn't work. Write down what keywords work for Google. Write down what kind of colors work when you advertise in a newspaper, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and look, if you're looking at the online side of things, certainly visit us at goshdigital.com and drop us a contact message, and we'll get in touch about consulting on that side of things. So,
yeah, there you go. And there are heaps of resources to find out about this stuff. Accounting, you need to know where the money's coming from and where it's going.
Exactly.
So you need to have systems on managing your money. When do you pay your bills? When do you send out your bills? Who do you bill? How much do you bill them? Blah, 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 like all that kind of stuff. Yes. And I know I'm just skimming over it because if we dug down into this one, we would be here for 4 hours on accounting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sales. Let's move on really quickly because you'll jump in and seriously, we'll be going for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. It'll take us forever. It's deep. No one accuses us of being too brief this episode. There's just too much detail.
There's too much detail, yeah. I think sales, the really important thing is understand your sales funnel, understand how long it takes for a client contact or a prospect to become a sales prospect and then to become an actual sale. That funnel is really important to understand because it affects your cash flow throughout the
massively.
Year. Especially as you start to come to the middle point of the year, as you come to the August, sort of September period of the year, if you know that it takes 3 months to sign up a new business, then once you hit October, chances are if you're working with other businesses, then they're probably not going to want to sign a contract until the start of the new year. So, your sales effects should be sort of coming down a little bit at that time, and you should be working on other stuff. So,
and this loops back into accounting, where some businesses work on the premise of having an 11-month year because they know January's going to be no sales.
Oh, yeah.
So all their budgeting's done for 11 months, not 12 months.
I'm a total believer in that, actually. Yeah.
And that works really, really well. We might even start doing it at the gym, except we just never know which month is going to be the problem. So
yeah,
it rotates around. Operations is the interesting one because people try and systemize bloody everything. And maybe that's overkill. You just kind of need to sort of systemize where paper goes, where paper comes from, when you call people, how you answer the phone. It's a whole bunch of stuff. And operations overlaps a lot of other stuff as well. Marketing, sales, client services, human resources.
I think that's where the confusion is with systemizing a whole heap of operations, is that it's actually other areas that you're systemizing.
Yes.
And you need to be quite clear about that.
Yeah, so the operation stuff is more handling what you do in the office as an administrative person or in the administrative role, which might, like paper flow and ordering supplies and all of that kind of stuff.
The next one, client services, is a really interesting one to me. I mean, I think it brings in project management, but that's a discussion for another time.
Exactly.
Client services,
we could just dig.
Yeah.
We could just dig.
Client services is a really interesting one because it's probably one of the most fuzzy ones out of all of these, because you're dealing with other people, you're dealing with your actual clients, your customers. So, you put procedures in place and systems for certain amounts of the client kind of channel. But on the other side, it comes back to the first point that we spoke about today, which is staff. Who have you got in those positions? And what are they doing for you and how are they doing it? Do you trust them to do it for you? So, yeah, really important sort of lesson. Number 6, human resources.
Yes. I mean, it's important to treat your clients well. It's also important to treat your staff very well.
It is.
And like human resources stuff comes down to leave entitlements, how you manage their pay, how you manage their movement through the organization. You were talking previously about how you, at Gosh, have a development program for your staff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think it's really important.
Yeah, that all comes into it because a lot of times this happens a lot with small businesses. I'm sure everyone will understand this, that people get employed to do a job and there's sort of it's really fuzzy. There's no real clear idea of what they're supposed to be doing. They don't know where they're supposed to be going. They don't know what their responsibilities are, what's a priority, what their path through the organization is, and none of that's defined. These systems can help that whole area clear it up, make it easier for that person to work for you and help your business grow.
Exactly. Number 7, production and delivery. Interesting.
Well, it's kind of the heart of your business. If you're not producing and delivering, well, you don't have a business, do you?
Exactly.
No one's going to pay you money. And this goes down to service as well. So your production could be the creation of the service that you want to provide, and the delivery is the actual service. If you're in physical objects, sales of goods, then you have to make sure that you're producing everything well and shipping it on time, whether you're shipping it to a retail store that then gets on-sold to a consumer. It matters not. You have to have that stuff down. And this is where you can really systemize stuff. You can get crazy with your production and be very, very particular and very, very specific.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess it really kind of comes into this last point we were going to make. The idea of automation is to make everything work without you.
Exactly. This is the whole idea. Now, you can automate everything and then decide to still work in the business. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you decide that you're going away and you're going to Guam to lie on the beach for 3 months, then you can do it.
And you just have to be careful not to silo knowledge. Once you've created the systems, don't sort of change them in your own time and silo knowledge and not tell anyone. So
yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, us entrepreneurs, we think and we have new ideas and we've got new ways of doing stuff, and we're quite happy to change stuff very often, sometimes too often. And quite often we'll change something, tell one person within the business, but not everyone, and it doesn't really work too well.
Stuffs us up, yeah. Now,
Yeah, so this is where systems come into place, especially when you've got them written down and all that kind of stuff. You can tweak it, communicate it to everyone all at once, and you're done.
for sure. Now, you have the quote this week, Mr. Adam Stanecki.
I do have the quote. It's from Mr. Bill Gates, and I just want to put a little, what's the word?
Asterisk.
I'm looking for asterisk in front of this. We're talking about technology with this quote, but you can just think of the automation section of the quote. So here we go. The first rule of any technology used in a business is that automation applied to an efficient operation will magnify the efficiency. The second is that automation applied to an inefficient operation will magnify the inefficiency. So what we're trying to say there, of course, is get your systems sorted out and then automate them.
Exactly.
And what you would do is if you're a sole operator or you've got a minimal amount of staff, you systemize what you do before you hand it off to someone else. You make sure it's working, at least predominantly working, and then you hand it off, and then you tweak. There's no use being completely inefficient, handballing it to someone else, because they're going to stuff it up more than you did.
That was episode 50. We're officially over the hill.
We are, and the special deal, okay, so month of August. In the month of August, $50 off VA Scout fee. Makes it under $200. You get yourself a sexy VA who does a lot of work for you, and we will give you ongoing support in that as well. If you can find another company out there on the internet doing this, I want to know about it because I haven't found one. Most of them, they will sell you one for about $350 and never talk to you again. So, under $200 for your own VA, get onto vascout.com, have a squiz. You will be able to automate your ass off. Brilliant.
That's the technical term. Visit the website, simplifymysmallbusiness.com for all the details on the offer. And you've been listening to us this week. Myself, Simon Hampson.
And myself, Adam Stanecki. Thank you.
For show notes, more episodes and recommended resources, please visit us at simplifymysmallbusiness.com. And we will catch you again in 2 weeks' time.
Thanks for listening. Go automate something.